Hi there, my name is Adam Jardy. I'm the Ohio State men's basketball beat writer for the Columbus Dispatch, and here today to talk to you a little bit about Ohio State's NCAA tournament draw and what the next couple of days might look like for the Buckeyes. As we sit here, Ohio State is preparing for a Friday 12:15 p.m. tip against Loyola-Chicago, a game that will be played in Pittsburgh at an arena where I once saw Green Day play. So I'm excited to go back to that. It's a Loyola team that is tough, that is experienced, that is physical, does not have the same type of maybe high level talent that certainly Ohio State has on its roster. But it's a Loyola program that anybody who's followed college basketball is certainly familiar with the recent success that the Ramblers have had, making a Final Four not too long ago, making the Sweet 16 last season. Some key pieces that are back from those teams. They also have the believed to be the youngest coach in Division One men's basketball, 30 years old, Coach Valentine. So it presents an interesting week for Ohio State because the Buckeyes entered the tournament having lost 4 of their last 5, including a first or an opening game exit in the Big Ten tournament, where Ohio State was upset by 11th seeded Penn State, a team the Buckeyes had beaten twice during the regular season. And Ohio State had closed the regular season having lost 3 of 4, but also dealing with some significant injuries. Forward Kyle Young, who's a 5th-year senior and one of 4 co-captains on this team, has missed multiple games now while being in concussion protocol. And that is the 3rd concussion that Kyle has suffered in slightly more than a year. He had 2 at the end of last season and decided to come back to Ohio State for one more year, and unfortunately is now dealing with another one. As of Tuesday, we didn't have a definitive word on whether he will play or not, and we don't know ultimately what the final verdict is going to be on that. But I was able to speak with Kyle's mother, Mary, who pointed out that or told me that if Kyle can play, if he is cleared to play, then he will play. But Kyle Young will most likely be like a decision much closer to game time. He's not even been able to be in the arena with Ohio State for the last couple of games while he's dealing with the effects of the concussion. And his loss has been felt in a number of ways. He's a guy that can switch a lot defensively. He's a guy that contributes to the offense without taking away shots from other guys. He's a really great teammate, plays hard, wins a lot of 50-50 balls, and is really well respected within the team and within the league. So his absence has been significant for this team. And then you couple that with a player like Zed Key, their starting center, who has been out now with an ankle injury that he's been dealing with that also coincides with this stretch of 5 games. Zed, I expect to be back for the game, and he will certainly help as far as rim protection and rebounding and bringing a physical presence against, like I said, a Loyola-Chicago team that plays hard and is a very physical team as well. So that's kind of where Ohio State sits going into this opening round game. I recognize that they are very widely considered an upset special as we sit here going into the start of the NCAA tournament, with Ohio State being a 7 seed, Loyola-Chicago being a 10 seed. But I do think that the fact that Ohio State has had a full week now to rest and recover and practice, when you look at the stretch of games the Buckeyes had to close the regular season, it was pretty significant. And they had 2 games that were postponed, one due to COVID and one due to weather. So they fit those games in the back half of the schedule. And as the play has slipped recently, and as they've really struggled defensively, and that's bled over to the offense, it's not a team that's really been able to work on anything in practice. It's been like game, recover, scout, game. Like it's been a really hectic stretch for Ohio State. It reminds me, like the situation Ohio State's in now reminds me a little bit of Chris Holtman's second season, where Ohio State went into the NCAA tournament, earned essentially the last at-large bid, and went and upset Iowa State in the first round. And that tells me, as I reflect on that and I think about this season, it tells me that this coaching staff, if you give them the time to prepare, like this week seems to give them, I generally like what they're able to do and what those teams are able to accomplish. And so when you have a player like EJ Liddell, who has really taken it, on his shoulders since last season's first round loss to Oral Roberts, EJ's talked extensively about owning that and taking ownership of that and wanting to leave, a different legacy at Ohio State than just that kind of game. while I recognize Ohio State is certainly projected as an upset pick here in the first round, I really like Ohio State's chances in this game. I just think they're a better overall team. I think they have more to play for at this point, and I think that the time off and the chance to work on some things, I think will have a significant impact on what this Ohio State team might look like compared to the Ohio State team that we've seen for roughly the last week to 2 weeks. And certainly if Kyle Young is able to return, that makes an even bigger impact. But we won't know that until much closer to the game. Should Ohio State advance, the Buckeyes will then most likely draw number 2 seed Villanova in the second round. That would be a pretty interesting matchup. That's Jay Wright is one of Chris Holtman's closest friends in the coaching profession. I wrote a story about them a couple of summers ago about how impactful Jay has been and the ability that he's had to help Chris kind of grow through some things that he's learned at Ohio State. They were obviously pitched against each other when Chris Holtman was at Butler and coaching against each other in the Big East. So there's definitely some interesting ties there. That would be a pretty fascinating second round matchup. Villanova's been an interesting team to watch this season. They don't play super enticing basketball, but they can grind it out and they can really make it difficult on you. And they've got some really talented veteran guards. So that would be an interesting matchup. I would look forward to getting to write about that. But obviously, we got to see what happens here on Friday first. As we sit here right now, not knowing statuses of 2 key players, I'm expecting Ohio State not to be a one and done. I think Ohio State handles Loyola-Chicago, and then we'll see kind of what that looks like and how different they might look than the last couple of weeks. Given Ohio State's defensive numbers over the course of the season, it's hard for me to project that they would go much further than that, because historically the numbers would tell you that teams ranked where Ohio State is ranked don't go very deep into the tournament. But it's also an Ohio State team that beat Duke on its home court, or on Ohio State's home court earlier this season. It's a team that beat the heck out of Wisconsin back in December before COVID kind of threw the whole season into a bit of a pause for Ohio State. It's a team that just like 3 weeks ago went to Illinois and won an absolute barn burner of a game there in Champaign. So we've seen it's a team that is capable of rising up and beating somebody and playing as one of the best teams in the country. It just hasn't necessarily consistently done that at a high level throughout the course of the season. So this will be an interesting litmus test for kind of where the mindset is of the team, to see where some of that leadership is. It is a veteran team that has a lot of pride, and it's only the second team in Ohio State history to reach 5 straight NCAA tournaments. And that comes with the caveat that there was no 2020 NCAA tournament, but Ohio State was safely in the field that year. So it's only the second time Ohio State has had a stretch where it's made at least 5 straight tournaments. Now, it's not had a deep postseason run during that stretch, and that is the challenging part of that. And that's certainly something that we'll have to see what that looks like, not only this year, but next year. To be sitting here having dealt with all the injuries that Ohio State has dealt with and the compressed schedule that it had down the stretch, I do think that it's worth at least taking note of the fact that they have made the tournament 5 straight years, and now they have the opportunity to see where it goes from there.